President Joe Biden Sunday afternoon saying he's dropping out of the race for president, but will remain in office until the end of his term. The president posting a letter on X saying, quote, "I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
I think today we should focus on Joe Biden's incredible legacy of service to our nation, his selflessness, his accomplishments in his decades in the Senate.
In a separate post, he went on to say that he is endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee.
I fully support Kamala Harris. And in fact, she's been trained by the best. Joe Biden was a vice president himself, and so she probably had the best mentor.
The announcement following weeks of mounting concerns over Biden's stamina and age. Calls for him to depart the race came after a widely criticized debate performance hosted by CNN less than a month ago. The president said he will address the nation later this week. He's currently isolating at his home in Delaware after testing positive for COVID Wednesday, just before he was supposed to speak at an event in Las Vegas. The Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, responding to the news on Truth Social, saying, quote, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve and never was. It has been decades since a sitting president has decided not to seek re-election and drop out of the race. The last was Lyndon Johnson in 1968. At the White House, I'm Karen Kafa reporting.
President Biden today making the seismic decision to step out of the 2024 race for the White House, bringing an abrupt end to a half-century career in politics after a disastrous 90-minute debate raised serious questions about the 81-year-old's fitness for another term in office. In a statement posted on X, the president writing, quote, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." Mr. Biden then endorsed his Vice President Kamala Harris for the nomination as the party scrambles to change course before next month's Democratic National Convention with just 4 months until the November election. One of the president's closest allies, Senator Chris Coons, reacting.
He has always put our country first. He has an incredible legacy of service and leadership.
In her own statement, Vice President Harris thanking the president for his service and his endorsement and saying it's her intention to earn and win this nomination and unite the Democratic Party. The news caps a tumultuous week, beginning with the attempted assassination of former President Trump, and after weeks of pressure from Democratic lawmakers increasingly anxious Mr. Biden could not defeat Mr. Trump. The former president slammed President Biden in an interview with NBC News as the race hits an historic reset.
I don't know. I think that's this scary part of it all, is that we just don't know what anything's going to happen.
Propelling the nation into unknown territory. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News. While President Biden has endorsed Vice President Harris, he cannot just hand her the delegates that he won during the primaries. They can still make their own choice. And while we've started to see a rush to back the vice president, someone else can still challenge for the nomination. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.